Alrighty, so let's talk about procrastination. Next week. Let's do it next week, because honestly, that's just gonna be better for my schedule. I'm just a little bit busy right now. Things are super crazy. And like, what's it with everybody always being on time with things? Like, oh, I gotta pay rent every month. Oh, I gotta listen to my wife when she asks me a question, you know? You guys don't do those things, right? For the past couple weeks, I've been procrastinating making this video. Instead of doing the thing that I knew I should be doing, I played video games, hunted around my house for snacks, and scrubbed my floors spotless. I guess because if I'm not going to be productive, at the very least, the back of my refrigerator is going to be clean. Now, I always tend to find a silver lining when I go through a slump like this, and it's not just the fact that my bathrooms are clean for the first time in 2 months. Don't judge me, it's 2020. But this time around, it's gotten me to look a little bit deeper and identify the problems. Why am I struggling? Why am I having such a difficult time getting to work? This video wasn't even going to be about procrastination, but the longer I sat in those feelings, the longer I was going through this, the more it got me to think about ways to overcome procrastination, how to push through it, and the true reasons why we procrastinate to begin with. This video is brought to you by Storyblocks, a great website that I use for sourcing high-quality video clips for my videos, but more on them later. I think the thing I hate most about procrastinating isn't the fact that I get behind with my work, or that I eventually have to cram last minute before a deadline. It's the fact that it blankets otherwise enjoyable downtime with a thin layer of guilt. While I aimlessly browse online, there's this quiet voice nagging in the back of my mind. You should be working right now. This isn't the best use of your time. You're totally screwed. So a lot of you know me as someone who is super productive, a guy who generally has his shit together. And while for the most part, I like to think that that's true, I do have my days, I have my weeks, and sometimes I even have my months where I just can't get to work. I struggle to do even the things that I find most fulfilling in life. So 2 weeks ago, I put one task on my to-do list, make YouTube video. But each day I kept pushing it back and back and back. I kept finding other things to distract myself with. I kept telling myself that I'd get to it later, but then 9 a.m. would turn into 12 p.m. and then before I knew it was past 5 p.m. And damn it, I'm not the kind of person that starts working past 5 p.m. This cycle went on for days. I kept coming up with all of these sneaky reasons, or let's call them what they actually are, excuses, for why I didn't need to do the thing that I actually really needed to do. And I'm sure that this is something that you've experienced yourself firsthand, whether it's a school paper or it's a project for work. We put off the things that are most important, even though we know that's gonna lead to so much pain down the road. And as I started to think about it, I started to wonder, what's the reason? Why would we actually do this? It sounds so counterproductive and so counterintuitive to how we should be acting. And then I remembered an interview I did last year with Steven Kotler. He's an expert in the flow state. If you missed that video, there's a link in the description, but essentially flow is a state of optimal performance where your brain locks in on the task at hand and everything else in the world seems to fade away. It's what allows extreme athletes to perform gravity-defying tricks, and it's also what gets you to do your best work, whether you're an accountant or a filmmaker. So in order to get into a flow state, in order to take advantage of what we're wired to do, we need to overcome procrastination. And so I thought there would be no better person to ask this question than Steven Kotler. Why do we procrastinate?
Flow follows focus. It only shows up when all of our attention is in the right here, right now, right? So that's what all the triggers do. They're all ways of driving our attention into the present moment. Challenge, skills, balance is the best of those ways, and it says we pay the most attention to the task at hand when the challenge of the task slightly exceeds your skill set. So you want to stretch but not snap. It's outside your comfort zone, but just outside. So if I were to explain it emotionally, I would say it sits, this challenge, skills, balance, the balance point sits not on, but very near the midpoint between boredom, not enough stimulation here, I'm paying no attention, and anxiety, whoa, way too much, I'm paying too much attention. In between is this sweet spot, they call it the flow channel. Procrastination, 95% of the time, is one of two things. Either the challenge is too hard, it's making you anxious, so you're putting it off and you're putting it off and putting it off, or just as common, the challenge is too frickin' boring.
The challenge was too boring. Even though I didn't realize it at the time, that's exactly how I felt about that one task that I added to my to-do list, make YouTube video. It wasn't that I find making videos boring, it's that the challenge of making one video in 1 week just wasn't very ambitious for me. Now, if you've never made a YouTube video or a video in your life, then this is gonna be a really difficult challenge. There are hundreds of different skills and steps that you need to take in order to start making a video and then to finish a video. But I'd proven to myself time and time again that I can do this. I've made hundreds of videos in my life, both long and short, and I knew that I could do this within just a couple of days if I needed to. So the problem really wasn't with the task itself, because I love the task of making videos. It was really, how do I motivate myself to get started and to push myself into the flow state? Because once I'm there, I'm truly loving it. I'm enjoying the process, and it's difficult to pull me away from my work. I just had to find that inner motivation to get me there. And so I asked myself, how could I light a fire under my ass? And I realized that I just wasn't being ambitious enough with my time. One video just wasn't challenging enough for me. So I added a few more tasks to my to-do list that I needed to get done after finishing this video. All of a sudden, there was a sense of urgency to get me started. Stephen told me about another creative workaround he used as a journalist that had nothing to do with moving deadlines.
Especially when I was coming up as a writer and as a journalist, I mean, man, I would take any story you gave me, right? Like, I'll write about whatever. Some of those stories were less than interesting to me. So because I didn't want to put it off till the night before, for all the obvious reasons, I would do things like, okay, how would Charles Dickens write this story? How would Hemingway write? So I'd try to write the story in the voice of Hemingway, because I've turned the challenge level up. I'm a month out, and suddenly I'm interested.
So think about whatever task it is you're working on right now that you're procrastinating by watching this YouTube video, and ask yourself if you're avoiding the task because it's too simple. If so, how could you dial it up to make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging or interesting for yourself? Now, of course, the difficulty with this strategy is finding balance. Now, if you take on too much work, if you overwhelm yourself, then you're gonna burn out and you're gonna get stressed out. You may actually, like Stephen Kotler suggested, get too anxious to where these projects would be overwhelming to even begin in the first place. And then also though, on the flip side, I definitely find it to be true that when I do too little, when it's not exciting or ambitious enough, then I'm not gonna be motivated to get started. And so finding that balance, making sure that of course you're not burning out, but also making sure that you're creating and doing work that is really inspiring and motivating you to take action. Okay, so let's for a moment dig into the other reason that we procrastinate. When things become overwhelming or a project is just too much for us to wrap our heads around. And if we can look at the same example I've been using throughout this video, make YouTube video. If that's what's on your to-do list and you've never made a video in your life, this is going to be a truly daunting experience. And so you might want to split it up into a few smaller tasks. You might create a to-do list with the items write video, film video, edit video. Now again, this could still be too overwhelming, so you could continue to break that down even further and create a dozen or more different tasks as a part of the bigger whole. Now this is something that I continue to do with really big projects. It's something that you absolutely have to do because I couldn't just put make feature-length documentary on my to-do list. If I did, I would have to keep putting on my to-do list every day for about 3 years over the course of the project. No, what I really need to do is break that up into much more manageable bits of information. Goals and milestones along the way are there to help push you forward towards that big goal, but you have these small tasks you need to do every day that continue to push the needle forward. The best part of overcoming procrastination and checking all those items off your to-do list is that you can now enjoy a much-deserved break, completely guilt-free. Now the only thing left to procrastinate is cleaning your house. All right, so I found out about my sponsor for this video, Storyblocks, last year, and they have since completely changed the game when it comes to sourcing high-quality, royalty-free video clips for online content creators and filmmakers. In the past, when I needed a clip or two to help me finish my videos, I'd have to pay per clip with pricey alternatives. But now with my Storyblocks Unlimited All-Access subscription plan, I have unlimited access to over 1 million assets, including tons of high-quality video footage, and it's super affordable. This footage has become vital to me to help me polish up my videos quickly. Coffee shot? Got it. Jellyfish? You bet. The brain scans you saw in this video? Storyblocks. Instead of spending a half day running around my city grabbing establishing shots for my videos, I just pop into Storyblocks and there are hundreds of options to choose from. If you're a filmmaker or a creative, I highly recommend you check out Storyblocks using the link in the description below. And so if I were to leave you guys with anything, I like to always end these videos with a little bit more of a relaxed, less high-strung version of Matt where I can just chill. We can just hang it. We can kick it. I'm not cool. I am like becoming a dad, even though we are very far away from having kids of our own. I know a lot of people ask that question. Nat and I aren't having kids anytime soon, definitely not during COVID. But, you know, when it comes to procrastination and when it comes to motivation and getting the work done and chasing goals, and I truly believe that sometimes we get so caught up in the chase that we lose sight of what is truly important. And so whether you're trying to overcome procrastination, whether you're working towards your goals, I really, really want you guys to make sure that you always keep in check the reason why you're doing it. And you always make sure that you're not doing something just because you have to, and you're doing it because you want to, because you love what you're doing and you truly love the craft. Sometimes it's really difficult to understand the difference, because when you're facing procrastination, when you're facing, you know, the prospect of sitting down playing video games all day or doing work that's truly difficult, you can feel like, oh man, I'd rather just do this easy thing. I actually don't want to do the hard work. But you have to be able to overcome that. You have to be able to push through that to really identify whether this is something worth doing or it's something throwing off to the side and trying something different instead. And so continue to be honest with yourself, continue to be true, keep asking those questions, and keep doing the hard work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.